Something metallic is tearing its way across space, and it didn't come from Earth. The object, nicknamed 3I Atlas, is racing through the solar system at more than 130,000 miles per hour. At first, astronomers thought it was another frozen wanderer from beyond the stars, but the data told a different story. It was bleeding. Not water vapor, not dust, but refined nickel, nearly 10 pounds of it every single second. What's even more unsettling is what was missing. Normally, nickel and iron are born together in the fiery hearts of supernovae. But here, iron was almost completely absent. This wasn't a random cosmic mix. It was separated, purified, and unnatural. The whispers began almost immediately. If this isn't a comet or an asteroid, then what is it? The story began on July 1, 2025, when a Chilean surveyed telescope first spotted Atlas blazing across the sky. At first, it looked like a historic discovery, only the third interstellar object ever detected in our solar system. But the celebration ended when spectral readings poured in from the Very Large Telescope. Instead of water vapor or carbon compounds, the glowing halo surrounding Atlas was loaded with pure nickel. On Earth, separating nickel from iron takes huge amounts of energy, chemical processing, and industry. Space doesn't do that on its own. Which meant this wasn't just strange, it looked engineered. One astrophysicist said it bluntly, "This is not a rock." Then came the signals. Faint, pulsing patterns started appearing in radio data from multiple observatories. These weren't random background emissions. They carried structure, order, the kind of deliberate repetition you'd expect from intelligence, not chance. The James Webb Space Telescope joined the hunt, peering at Atlas with its infrared eyes. What it saw deepened the puzzle. The object wasn't just shedding metal. Its chemical balance was bizarre, 8 parts carbon dioxide to 1 part water. For comparison, most comets barely reach 4% carbon dioxide. Nothing about its makeup fit any natural origin. It was as if it had been built, a capsule of exotic material, carrying a purpose we couldn't yet guess. The orbit only made things stranger. Interstellar visitors usually dive through the solar system on chaotic, one-time paths. But Atlas didn't behave that way. It drifted past Venus, Mars, and Jupiter in a sequence so unlikely the odds were calculated at 1 in 20,000. Even more disturbing, it was moving retrograde, against the flow of the planets. Like a driver going the wrong way down a highway, and doing it carefully, as if following instructions. When it reached its closest approach to the Sun, it did so from behind, hiding from our best instruments, as though avoiding our gaze. And then, the emissions became encoded. Some scientists argued the missing iron, the nickel ratios, and the extreme carbon dioxide weren't random at all but a message in chemistry, a kind of molecular Morse code that only a civilization with advanced spectroscopy could notice. In other words, us. Whispers of a von Neumann probe resurfaced, a self-replicating robotic scout seated across the stars. If so, Atlas wasn't a traveler. It was a test. Soon after, nearby asteroids began drifting in ways physics couldn't explain. Minute orbital shifts, subtle nudges, all occurring after passing close to Atlas's path. It was as though the object was bending gravity itself, whispering to space in ways nature doesn't. Webb's mid-infrared instrument then uncovered the most disturbing clue yet. Instead of cooling as it moved away from the Sun, Atlas's core was heating up. Not randomly, but with a steady pulse, like a reactor, not a rock. The heat waves repeated every 51.2 minutes, then suddenly shifted to 17.07 minutes, perfectly matching the timing of its gravitational anomalies. Coincidence? Impossible. But the real shock came from the Moon. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter picked up a strange electromagnetic echo from the far side of the Moon, mirroring Atlas's signals. That meant either the object had triggered something dormant on the lunar surface, or something was already there, waiting for the signal. And then, silence. Every pulse, every emission, every drop of nickel stopped. Atlas went dark. The shutdown happened just 1 hour after the Moon's echo. As if a transmission had been completed, a handshake exchanged, and the probe slipped into stealth. When researchers went back over Atlas's earlier emissions with next-generation AI decoders, they weren't expecting much. For weeks, the signals had been written off as noise, the kind of cosmic static every deep space object gives off. But the machines saw what humans missed. Hidden inside the chemical ratios tucked between the spectral lines were high-frequency binary bursts. It wasn't sound. It wasn't light. It was digital information written in matter itself, a code so subtle no one had thought to look for it. Atlas had been speaking the entire time, and only now, with our most advanced tools, did we realize it. The revelation sent shockwaves through the astronomy community. When the decoded patterns were compared to a mysterious fast radio burst logged years ago, FRB 202011224A, a pulse from a galaxy almost 400 million light-years away, the modulation matched. Not approximately. Exactly. Either Atlas was using a universal communication protocol, something any advanced civilization might understand, or it was part of a network stretching across intergalactic space. Neither explanation was comforting. Then the object itself began to change. Through Webb and Earth-based telescopes, astronomers saw Atlas distort the stars behind it. At first they thought it was an error in the optics. But the distortion didn't behave like gravity, it rippled. It shimmered like heat over desert sand. This wasn't lensing caused by mass. It was a field, an active cloaking veil bending light itself. Worse, the pulses of the field matched the timing of the earlier emissions, as if the camouflage was also a message. People whispered, "When we stare at it, does it stare back?" Then came the moment no one was prepared for, the blackout. Across the planet, every observatory locked onto Atlas, in Chile, Hawaii, South Africa, Australia, even Antarctica, went blind at once. Data streams cut off. Satellites lost lock. For exactly 37 seconds, the solar system's eyes went dark. And when the feed returned, Atlas had nudged itself a fraction of a degree off course. The shift was tiny, invisible to the naked eye, but too precise to be an accident. It was the equivalent of a submarine adjusting depth after pinging its surroundings. A leaked European Space Agency memo soon added fuel to the fire. During the blackout, a military-grade infrared satellite had caught a brief, perfectly hexagonal thermal bloom radiating from Atlas. Geometry and heat, something nature doesn't produce at that scale. Something machines make. And then Earth itself began to feel it. Magnetometers in orbit recorded faint, rhythmic pulses rippling through the Van Allen belts. At the same time, seismic instruments deep in the Indian Ocean picked up ultra-low vibrations pulsing every 12 minutes. Not random. Not spreading outward like a quake. Focused upward, like a sonar wave aimed at orbit. If Atlas was scanning, mapping, or testing us, this was how it would look. The final straw came from a commercial CubeSat no one was watching. In low Earth orbit, the tiny satellite suddenly froze. Its gyroscope spun out of control, its temperature plunged, and then, impossibly, it began transmitting a signal it had never been programmed to send. The waveform was a perfect copy of Atlas's own emissions. It hadn't just reached our orbit. It had seeded our satellite, turned it into an echo of itself, a relay in a network we didn't even know existed. 3I Atlas is not a comet. Not a rock. Not even a visitor. It is a system. A messenger. A machine. One that has already touched our moon, our satellites, our oceans, and our magnetic shell. Its orbit defied physics. Its structure defied chemistry. Its silence was louder than any explosion. And when our satellite echoed its pulse back into the void, that was not a malfunction. That was a handshake. It didn't come to visit. It came back, because it already knew where to go, what to trigger, and who would be listening. And now, with its signal seeded into our orbit, vibrating across the invisible threads of our planet's protective field, we're left with a single, terrifying question. What happens when the reply arrives?